You show me what you got. I'll tell you where to put it.
I'm pulling them right now because it feels good.
Oh, I mean, Finnan really is a fucking babe. I mean, the accent. Welcome back, Pot Coven, the long-awaited third installment of this episode block. If you haven't listened to the past two episodes, we are talking about cults. So this time we are going to be focusing on a very large cult, very infamous, incredibly well known, maybe not the secrets of it well known, but I'm excited to learn a little bit more today. Ella's going to be talking to us about Scientology.
Woohoo! Scientology has... Honestly, I had not even really heard of it until I saw a South Park episode about it. And then once I watched the episode, I was like, dude, I need to learn more about this, because it's not that it grabbed me like, oh, I want to believe in this. I was just like, holy shit, people believe in this? Like, I gotta see what the fuck is going on here. And with that like kind of detached Gemini mind up in my brain, a lot of times when I'm looking at like different cults, I can be like, oh, okay, like I can see how people would fall for it. Like, I'm not necessarily like buying into it, but where I can be like, okay, like if you're in a mindset of like trauma or pain, or just, maybe not even just making decisions for yourself very often, kind of like going with the flow too much, every now and then you can just kind of get sucked down a little drain into a cult. So no shame if you are a cult survivor, and that is what you are. You're a survivor of a cult. Cheers to ya. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about Scientology. I love Scientology as like the thing that it is. Like, I don't I like to look at it and be like, oh, this is interesting. But as far as like the institution of it, no thanks. All right, so little intro into Scientology. It was formed in 1954 by science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard, and was defined as the study and handling of the spirit in relationship to itself, universes, and other life. That's like their little synopsis of like what we are.
I have a fun fact. There's this really cool performance arts show in Oakland once a month called Tourette's Without Regrets. And the person who runs it is the grandson of L. Ron Hubbard. He's like very, like, he's like punk and radical. He's kind of a dick too. I met him one time. No offense, dude, if you're listening, but right. You were rude to me.
But it is still true.
But I really fucking love your show, so I'll still go. But yeah, he'll announce that, like, that's part of the start of the show, like, and the grandson of L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, he does not like, he was not a fan of that man, as we will learn more about Scientology for good reason.
Yes, exactly. All right, so our first question about cults is, what is their core belief? All right, so I have a few little bullet points here. They have, what is it, how many? I guess it's two different views. So the first view is the view of man/human as a spiritual being called a thetan. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know if it's Thetan or Thetan. It's one of the two. But I'm going to say Thetan because it sounds cooler. All right. Thetans are immortal and have lived and continue to live through countless lifetimes. So it's basically like your soul that reincarnates is what that is. They also view life as compartmentalized into urges, drives, and impulses called dynamics. And yes, I did write down all the dynamics, so we're going to just go into that.
Let's do it.
There's 8 of them. I wrote these notes a while ago, so I'm excited to go over them and be like, oh, look at all the stuff I found. Okay, first dynamic is the self dynamic. It's your urge to exist as yourself, basically, and express your individuality fully. So it's basically just, being you, doing your thing. Number 2 is the sex dynamic. It's the urge toward existence as a sexual activity, either as sex itself or as a family unit, like having children and like procreating and stuff. Number 3 is the group dynamic. It's the urge towards existence in groups of individuals. So that'd be like your school, your town, society, the nation, might be like your race or religion, but like just being in your group. Number 4 is the mankind dynamic. It's your urge towards existence as or of mankind. So it's basically like your feeling of humanity and of being human and being like, cool, mankind, whatever. Number 5 is the animal dynamic. It's the urge towards existence of all living things. So just, in what do you call that? Like cooperation with the world and nature and other animals. Number 6 is the universe dynamic, urge towards existence as the physical universe, which would be matter, energy, space, time. The spiritual dynamic is number 7. It's the urge towards existence as or of the spirits. With or without identity was one of the little notes. So it's kind of like also acknowledging like the paranormal world, basically, as well. And then number 8 is the infinity or God dynamic. It's the urge towards existence as infinity or supreme being. And it's number 8 because it's a play on the infinity symbol. So if you kind of like follow that a little bit, it starts with the self and it expands outward,
Right. It took me a couple until I picked up on the pattern.
Yeah. So it kind of like moves in this outward direction of like encompassing all the aspects of all that you can be. This guy was a writer, so I want you to keep that in mind,
Right,
so there's a lot
right.
of detail and there's a lot of like structure and setup in all the things that he writes, because you gotta, if you're gonna write a story, you gotta set up your own rules. You gotta set up your own parameters for your world. Does your world have magic? Does your world have God? Does your world have creatures? Does it have talking trees? So I am always fascinated that a science fiction writer came up with this shit. I'm just like, yeah, okay, all right, using that brain, man.
Right. Like so far, just like the organization of it, I'm like, there's something about it that I'm like, okay, this sounds kind of cool.
Exactly. These first steps into it, you're just like, cool, makes sense. And then the further into it, you go, oh wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
we're getting weird in here. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. All right, so that's the 8 dynamics. Our second question, what is their book or manifesto? So the book is called Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. It's the recommended beginning reading for Scientology. Like when you first enter, that's like the first book. They're like, here, read this, get familiar. But basically anything written and spoken, whether it's books, tapes, video cassettes, or video recordings, that kind of stuff, they collectively constitute the scripture of the religion. Basically anything L. Ron Hubbard has said is considered like religious word. Yes, it's scripture.
Yeah, we have a big Scientology building here, and you can see in the first floor windows, because it's set up like a shop, and it looks, if you didn't see the big Scientology sign, it would look like it was a bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of books.
Yes, well, and I watched the Leah Remini special on it, and she was talking about how, or one of her guests, somebody was talking about how they'll release a new a new version every like 5 to 10 years of these same books and make people like rebuy them. Like it's kind of required and expected that you're going to buy the updated version. So anyway, just a fun little note on that.
Right.
So Dianetics, if you want to dip your toe in Scientology, that's your first read. Question 3, does magic or spirituality play a role? In short, yes. They are based around the belief of immortal spiritual bodies. So they pretty much believe that the soul is infinite and just kind of like goes on to live different lives in different existences, sometimes on different planes, I'm sure. They also believe in the bridge, which crosses the chasm between where one is now and a higher plateau of existence. So when you first come into Scientology, they're pretty much like you're at the lowest whatever plateau of existence, I guess, and you're trying to make your way up. And they say that I put this in quotes. Unfortunately, many of those attempting to cross the chasm fell into the abyss. And then they have a chart that you have to follow. And the chart is a guide for the individual from their first awareness of Scientology to each higher state. Man has never before had such a map. It is the bridge to total freedom. It is the route. It is exact and has a standard progression. One walks it and one becomes free. So this chart they're talking about is called the Classification, Gradation, and Awareness Chart, and it's basically your roadmap to ascension to make sure you cross the bridge instead of falling into the chasm between these plateaus of existence.
Yeah, so it's a treasure map.
Yeah, well, and honestly, like, part of it, I'm like, is this all allegory, or is some of this, like, they believe your soul actually, like, pitfalls? Like, I'm not sure if it's all, like, you know how you make little things in your head to keep yourself moving along. Like, I don't know if it's that or, so anyway. Okay, so this classification, gradation, and awareness chart. The classification refers to training in Scientology and the fact that certain actions are required and certain skills attained before an individual moves forward and makes rank. So they've basically set up, step by step, how you achieve ascension. So the gradation next refers to the gradual improvement spiritually that occurs through Scientology auditing. So basically someone tells you whether or not you've done the right amount of work, or if you've paid the right amount of penance, or if you've basically reached these levels. You have to put your trust into your Scientology auditor to say, yes, you're ready for the next steps, or no, you need to keep working on this. So yeah, just kind of it's almost like a little class system, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Class system. It's interesting having these auditors as well. Like, it's very involved. It is a very involved process.
It's a very hierarchy, military style, make rank kind of thing. So
yeah.
Anyway, very interesting. See, can you see why this is just intriguing to me as hell? I'm just like, whoa.
Well, even in comparison to the other cults, this one is just it just screams Virgo energy and how intricately planned it is. That's the best way to describe it.
I feel like I looked up his chart, but maybe I did not. No, I don't think I looked up what he is.
You keep talking. I'll mute myself
and
I'll pull it up.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. I'll move on to the next question. Number 4. What are their spiritual practices? All right, so now I'm actually going to tell you what auditing is. Auditing involves an auditor and a pre-clear in a session where the pre-clear is asked questions with the intent to work through their pains and, quote-unquote, free themselves of unwanted barriers that inhibit, stop, or blunt their natural abilities. So the pre-clear is like the new initiate Scientologist, basically. They're the new person, and then the auditor is the person who's hit that step where they're now auditing people. The goal is to become brighter and more spiritually able, and they use an E-meter, which is short for electropsychometer. It's an electronic instrument that measures mental state and change of mental state. It measures the energy and mass of the pictures in the mind of the thetan in the body.
I was muted, but what I was saying was, all right, now I'm starting to get a little lost. And he has an 8th house Virgo moon. So.
Oh my goodness.
He's a Pisces sun, Virgo moon, Sagittarius rising.
Okay, so that explains all the science fiction-y stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, Sagittarius rising is a storyteller. Pisces is very creative.
Yeah, very out in the ether,
People also will follow Sagittarius, They
just seem so confident. They're like, I know where I'm going. People are like, cool.
Right. Look, I know all this stuff. Well, listen to me. Come with me.
Yes. Confidence. See, y'all out here playing small. Just have the confidence of a science fiction writer with his own religion.
True that.
And an 8th house Virgo moon.
Oof.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Oh, and then the other thing they do is training, which is where you're gaining knowledge and abilities necessary to minister each level to others. But all of these, like when I was on their, like all of this is taken straight from their website. I'm not like embellishing any of this. I did not go anywhere else to research them except on their very own website. All of this is totally available to any person looking into Scientology, should you choose to do that. But all these like random words like the training and the classification and the gradation, like all of this stuff was very like almost like when you see it like in a trademark setting, you know, where it was very much like these are official terms, or like when you're reading a contract and you're like, the company shall not furthermore be referred to as the company, you know, and shit like that. Like it was very contractual and structured and just like, I don't know. It's just kind of a trip to just kind of to look at it in its face, you know, and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Holy shit. Very interesting. All public knowledge.
Yes, all public knowledge. I didn't even rewatch the South Park episode. I'll probably do that when we hang up. I'll probably do that while I'm editing this just for fun.
Well, I still need to watch the Lisa Remini series anyway, so maybe I'll be inspired to do that now.
Right. It is very good. Like it's I would say anyone who has trauma or triggers of like abuse and neglect and just religious stuff, like if you're not ready to handle it, I would say don't watch it, just because she does interview people who have been through some shit, and they do, you know, they are honest about it, they're open about it. It is great to see survivors, you know, opening up and just being like, oh, you know, I'm ready to talk about this, you know, trying to take back some of their power. But it is definitely difficult to listen to or watch if you are also having those issues, or if you've had those issues before. So just a little trigger warning for y'all.
Yeah, that's good. Fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Nice.
All right. Question 5. What do the followers gain? Happiness, self-confidence, and self-improvement are the main things. And then the other thing that you gain is ascension to higher existence. So, I mean, those are nice. Not a lot of like, you know, this world kind of stuff. But I guess a lot of religions aren't based on what's happening in this world too. So I get it, you know. But I was just like, that's it? You get happiness? Well, and also, you know, I won't say this as fact, but like if you are going based off of the recounts of people who've broken away from Scientology and were traumatized by it, a lot of it is very like expensive to get there. Like, you know, like where you're, if there, or they'll be like, oh, if you're not happy, it's because of all these bad things that are inside of you and you just need to do more work, basically. So.
Right. Well, it seems like a very intricate system of power and control, because there are these important roles that these, you know, initiates do, being the auditors, and you have these machines, and it's like a lot of like judging and value, and there's so many roles people have, and when people have roles, it's another label, you get an ego attachment, and you're, you know, it's such a complicated system that I think it just works like a beautiful little machine to just get more people. And right, like that's the thing where like a lot of famous people are into Scientology, and a lot of them spend a lot of goddamn money on Scientology, because that's like did you ever watch Community, the TV show? Chevy Chase's character is a part of it. It's a play on Scientology. I don't remember what they call his religion, but you know, so that's really my knowledge. But yeah, he's talking about going up levels and ascending and going to space and stuff. And they trick him one time, and somehow trick him into thinking he's gone up to like the top level, and they give him like a goofy hat and a fake wand, and they're like, it has magical powers.
Oh my god.
So that's what I think of when I think of Scientology. But yeah, it is
That's
about like going up to those different levels and getting new things at those levels. And a lot of those levels require more money, baby. I mean, even just buying the new books every 5 to 10 years, right? Like that's money.
Yep, exactly. Actually, there's something like that in The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix. There's like this alternate reality of like their existence, and one of the characters gets caught up in cosmetology, which is like, and it it talks about like the founder's husband is alive, he's really alive, like like don't look for him but he's alive, kind of thing. So they did a play on it too. It was really funny. I mean, funny for what it can be. Okay. Number 6, most known for. This one is not off their website. This one is just me. Number 1, I mean, I guess we were just kind of talking about this, but topical references to the current leader's missing wife in entertainment. That happens a lot. It happens in cartoons. It happens in TV shows. Anytime someone brings up something that's supposed to symbolize Scientology, a lot of the times they talk about the missing spouse of the founder, or the leader, not the founder. It's also really well known for Leah Remini being in there and Tom Cruise being in there, but then also Leah Remini being like breaking out and making this show and like kind of like gaining support from other people and all that. So that's some of their most known for, other than just being a religion. That's where you would see them, is mostly in modern TV shows. Also, they are known in the news for alleged abuses. I just say alleged because, legalities and shit like that. But anyway,
Right.
alleged.
Definitely believe survivors. But
yeah, I believe
alleged.
survivors. However, for the legal notes in this podcast, I will say alleged abuses such as driving members broke with expected expenses for books, training, auditing, etc., forced abortions, overworking members, spying on members and former members, harassment, labor camps disguised as educational places, using celebrities to promote the church, separating families, kidnapping, possibly murder, and child labor.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it calls to you, it calls to you, but I would just say think twice.
Right. I've definitely heard about the murder in Scientology. There is an actor whose name I can never remember when I want to bring him up in this specific instance. I can remember his name at other times. I don't know. There's a spell on me. There's an actor who died too young a couple years ago, who was a part of Scientology and like recently left. And because I'd watched just a brief thing about Scientology and murder within Scientology, and it's technically a conspiracy theory, but
yes, allegedly.
that one I'm a little sold on, especially with how much money Scientology has.
Yes, yeah, it's a big operation. They own a lot of properties. Like, you can find a Scientology building in many major cities. They have rural properties. They have international properties. Have you heard about the boat?
No.
That they have? Oh God, I forget what it's called now. I should have totally put this in my notes. But they have it's basically the size of like a cruise liner. And it's like their naval force, essentially. Like, they have people who live on this boat and they do boat stuff, I guess. I don't know, but they basically do their Scientology stuff on this boat. I don't know. It's still kind of shrouded in mystery unless you've been on it. And most people who've been on it, I don't know, either are not talking about it or are no longer with us or are still on the boat.
Interesting.
So it's still a pretty secretive piece of it, but you have to sign a special contract. Like, they're like the elites. So I would imagine that's a lot of the reason too why people don't talk about what happens on it, is because they're the people who are pretty deep in and like are rising ranks and like have earned the privilege of being on the boat. So anyway,
yeah, you're either on the boat or you're off. I'm prefacing this with the fact that I don't know that much about Scientology, but isn't there like an alien aspect to it?
Yeah.
Like when
Mhm.
you die, you're supposed to go to an alien planet. I mean, that might also have to do with the thetan, because I also believe that our souls continue on. And so, like, you might not always be reborn as a human. You might be born as something else, somewhere else in the universe.
Yeah.
But,
You might be thinking about Mormonism,
oh,
possibly, because I'm pretty sure they have an aspect of their religion where, like, I think it's possibly like heaven exists on a planet, or like you ascend to be like a deity on a planet. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into that one, but I do know that they believe that like all the bad feelings and all the wrongdoing with humanity are alien, basically, where that they were sent here from outer space and they infected the humans, and that's why we're shitty.
mm,
And
right.
that's also where your unhappiness comes from.
Mm,
These little
interesting.
aliens inside you and shit. Yeah.
So we all got to choose which cults that we did. Why were you so drawn to doing Scientology as your cult episode?
Um, hmm. It's a good question. I just enjoy talking about it. Yeah, I really just enjoy telling people about Scientology and getting the reaction, because I guess it's actually not as well known as, like, okay, I'm like, I get special interests some from time to time, you know what I mean, where I'll be like deep diving into stupid shit.
Yeah.
And Scientology was one of my special interests for a little while, for like a few months in high school, where I was like, I gotta learn all about Scientology. And so it's just kind of, it's almost like a nostalgic project for me, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, where I'm just like, oh, remember that cult you used to like research just because you were bored and had nothing else to do, or you were avoiding homework? And I'm like, yeah, that was great. So, I mean, I just have Scientology is my, like, my special squirrel of weird culty religions, you know. I'm just like, oh, look
Mhm.
at you, you're so special. So,
Well, yeah, you bring up a good point, that religion and cults, there's like this fine line. There's this divide
yes.
because Scientology
Yes.
is like technically classified as a religion, and yet we're here talking about it today and saying it's a
Mhm.
cult, and many people do, but also many people will say it's a religion. So what do you
Mhm.
think?
Mhm.
How do you think Scientology crosses the line from religion to cult?
I feel like it crosses the line when you start forcing your members to do certain things. Like, I'm all for being like, hey, we're this church, we have these rules, you know, you have to follow them. If not, like, have to remove yourself. But to, like, trap people and, like, basically force them into things and shame them and, like, do all this really unsavory shit to people. Again, I'm gonna believe survivors. I've heard many statistics where, like, people underreport abuse of all kinds, just
Right.
across humanity. It's underreported. So when people do have the balls to step forward, especially against something as powerful with as much money as something as Scientology, it's hard for me to believe that those people are just, like, doing it for the drama or doing it for the personal gain. I'm like, dude, you can have your life straight up ruined. Like, look what happened
Right.
to that person who came against Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, is she even able to find a job now? Is she even able to work? Like, like, I
Right.
don't even know, So it's just like, when you come up against someone powerful, I have a tendency to believe you, because I'm like,
Right.
you got some balls. Like, I personally would not go against someone unless they had really wronged me. And I feel like most of humanity is like that. Like, we're not gonna, try to go against a whole institution unless that institution has, like, been
He's
corrupt and has
done some
hurt
fucked up
people,
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think I'm totally with you. And so it's interesting with religions that are as widespread, such as Christianity and especially Catholicism, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
issues with Catholicism, especially
Mhm.
with abusing minors. And so it's interesting that those are also it's I think when religions are really big like that and really widespread, and like Christianity is segmented into so many different areas, you know, and it's like, who's that one like super rich
Joel
Osteen, like that guy, he's a cult leader. But then like the nice church that my grandpa went to, that's a religion. You know?
Exactly, yeah. The small town church, you know, like I have zero things against people just believing what they believe and practicing their religion. I honestly think it's great. I feel like for the most part, it makes people want to be a better person and it makes people want to take care of each other. But yeah, when you like cross the line into being like, you got to force the rest of the world to believe what you believe, you got to force everyone else to live by your rules. Like, I'm just like, pretty sure nowhere in the Bible does Jesus say, hey, bros, you know what I really want? I want you to force everyone to believe what you believe. I want you to like have people driving Hummers. We're gonna overpopulate this planet. Say fuck it to the environment. I'm like, no.
We're gonna do it so hard. We're gonna hate people.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna hate people who are different than us. I'm like, sweeties,
I think
you literally twisted the message. You fucking missed it.
You missed it. Like maybe like 1500 years ago. It got really fucked up, guys.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think whenever like control, manipulation, getting a lot of money from the people who are coming to your church, and like high levels of secrecy, I would say that's what I would say the tipping point is from religion to cult, you know? Like a religion, you should just be able to show up to the church or the temple, listen to a sermon, listen to a talk, be welcomed in. Here you are. Not like, we're going to audit everything you do and scan your brain and you have to pay $1,000 to get this and ascend. Like, nah, that's a cult, my friend.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a big difference between the two, for sure.
You know what? There are, and I don't know, my boyfriend, my Robert, could talk about this more, but there's like a lot of cults that are coming up on like TikTok and on Instagram.
Like new ones?
Yeah, there's one in Guatemala. Weird. There's some colonizers in Guatemala who have a cult. And then there's one, I wish I could remember. I want to say it's called like the Rainbow Coalition, something like that.
I think they tried to come to Hawaii last year.
Oh yeah. Well, there's something else. There's another thing that travels around that's like very hippie called the Rainbow something or other. Rainbow, because I can't remember what it's called. Someone listening is saying it out loud. They know what we're talking about. So I wonder if it was that or if it's this other, the cult I'm talking about, which both of them are pretty hippy dippy. But yeah, I've seen the cult leader on TikTok. It's a very interesting. I don't know too much. Maybe I'll do some more research into it. We can have a bonus episode or something.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of cults popping up, and it's not really surprising after, Saturn and Jupiter have been hanging out in Aquarius. I kind of feel like that's going to give birth to some like, let's start a commune, which like always starts off as a good idea, my friends, but it's just a slippery slope into cultism.
Yeah.
Let's not have another Waco.
Well, and I feel like for the most part, the majority of things that become cults don't start that way. They start with like well-intentioned people literally being like, hey, let's live on a commune. That sounds nice. And then some asshole gets the idea that they're going to profit off of it, basically. And then they either get free labor or they get money or they get sex or they get, whatever the fucking thing is. But that's also what's interesting about Scientology is that the way that it's structured is very much like structured to maintain a hierarchy of a cult. Like no secret here. Like just looking at it, I'm just like, okay, so you have like basically the highest person tells the people under them who tell the people under them who tell, like it's all just this chain of command. And I'm like, you literally like you can't hide behind religion with that shit. Come on.
Right.
We're not dumb.
Right. And even the like overall, idea of ascension, like if you were legit, you wouldn't be hiding that shit so hard. Like there's no reason if someone knew how to like help other people to live like happily and free. Like, no. Like, yes, it's important to get money for the things that you do because we live in a capitalist society and I don't want people to die because they can't afford food or housing, So, always
Yeah.
charge for your work, my friends. You're
Yes.
valid.
But you people are individuals. This is a mega church.
Yeah. When we're working with a mega church, it's like, we can solve all your problems. It's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't think you're telling the truth, kind sirs.
Yes. It makes me curious. Like, I almost want to, like, poke the bear of Scientology, but I'm also like, it's a slippery slope, my dear. It is a slippery fucking slope. Do not do that to yourself. Do not even dip the toe. Like, no.
I know.
Like, I'm not saying I'd fall for it,
book.
but I can't guarantee that.
I want the book.
I don't want to be there.
Right.
I want to be on the boat with my kids and a bunch of fucking douches in suits. Fuck that. And they're like, you gotta live by the founder's rules. And I'll be like, you gotta live by my asshole, bitch. And they'll be like, we're throwing you off in the middle of the ocean, you asshole.
You gotta live by my asshole, bitch.
This is why no one takes me anywhere nice. They're like, you're too loud and obnoxious. I'm like, me? What?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm an
Bitch.
angel. Fucking dicks.
Well. We are almost done with this block, which means we're also almost done with this season, after much ado. And we are actually recording this episode on Jess's birthday. So if you didn't...
Birthday to you.
Which is why we do not have her here with us today. So if you're listening on Thursday and you didn't wish her a happy birthday, go to her page, wish her a happy birthday. And we will be back next week with the final episode. And we are not interviewing a guest next episode. Should we tell them or should we still keep it a secret?
Ooh, let's keep it a secret. They're going to like it. It's going to be really cool. I promise. It's not lame.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun way to end this season. Is this season 3?
This is season 3, yeah.
Okay.
2 years, 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for always listening to us. We would not be here without you. I love doing this.
Me too.
It's fun.
It is a good time. All right. You guys can reach out to us on Instagram at Power of 3 Podcast. You can send us an email at powerof3witchpodcast@gmail.com. That's all I'll leave you with today. We do have a Patreon. It's kind of just sitting silently right meow. We like to, brainstorm and refresh between seasons, which is why it's nice to break it off into seasons so we can kind of regroup and plan. So we'll probably be doing that in the coming weeks, and we'll have more updates after that. So yeah, best way to get in touch with us is Instagram and Gmail. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of the Power of 3 podcast has been brought to you by BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp is an online platform with licensed therapists who are ready to help you wherever you might exist across the multiverse. Now, you must be 18 years or older to use this service, and BetterHelp is not a crisis line, but you can start communicating with someone within 24 hours. They have financial aid available to qualifying individuals. This is a secure, convenient, and affordable platform for your counseling services. Use the URL betterhelp.com/witchy to get your first week free.
This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked at-home health testing system.
Let's Get Checked is all about personal health testing, making healthcare and health screening open and patient-led, empowering people to use technology in a simple but powerful way, and giving greater control to their personal health. They have a range of tests, including STD testing across all genders, fertility tests, celiac tests, general wellness, and more. Use the code WITCHY on letsgetchecked.com at checkout for 20% off your purchase.
This Power of 3 episode has been brought to you by Tonic Vibe CBD products. Tonic's original CBD blends are handcrafted in small batches with purposeful plant-based ingredients. Using herbs like ashwagandha and superfoods like black seed oil, Tonic elevates the benefits of CBD to create a powerful way to heal the body, calm the mind, and restore balance. Their hemp-derived CBD and botanical blends create a completely holistic method to help you feel your best and #FixYourVibe. Use code WITCHY at tonicvibes.com for 10% off your order.
This episode of the Power of 3 podcast is brought to you by Shock Rubs, because sex is magic. Shock Rubs is the first crystal sex toy company. Their sex toys are made from natural crystals that bring a sense of sacredness to your playtime. These beautiful handcrafted tools are created with the intention of opening oneself up to the healing properties that crystals provide. All toys are body safe, made from the earth, and provided with love. They create harmony in mind, body, and spirit, remove blocks caused by sexual trauma, create deeper intimacy with the self and with your partner, and even encourage self-awareness and mindfulness. So use the code WITCHYWISDOM on shockrubs.com at checkout for 10% off your purchase today.